Do you feel like your urges to binge eat or emotionally eat happen on autopilot, or that you're not even fully conscious of making the choice to eat, and then you find yourself standing in front of the pantry halfway through a bag of chips or a box of cookies, and you're like, how did I get here? Have you ever experienced an episode of overeating that almost felt like an out-of-body experience? If so, then you are not alone here. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how to get back into the driver's seat of your food choices. Hey friends, I'm Christina. I'm a nutrition coach, and on this channel, I talk about lean eating skills and the psychology of behavior change while keeping plenty of fun in life. So one of the techniques that we talk about to help overcome binge eating is establishing a regular eating schedule. The idea of routine can help us avoid that roller coaster that can be the binge and restrict cycle. It can take some practice, like any new skill, especially if your eating patterns have become random, sporadic, or wherever the scent of that fast food place draws you. When you're starting off practicing a new habit, it can be difficult because it's new. But don't confuse difficulty with impossibility. That's the first element of getting back into the driver's seat of your food choices. It's okay for things to be difficult. People who have been struggling with emotional or binge eating for a long time lead this person to wonder, is it even possible for me to be free from this behavior? When people have struggled with overeating a specific type of food, many times it can feel impossible to stop after just one portion. I hear these questions and doubts in my one-on-one calls all of the time. But I'm here to tell you that if any of these changes were easy, then this channel probably wouldn't exist and I would be out of a job. So I recognize that it is difficult to change any long-standing problematic food behaviors, but it's not impossible. There have been many clients just like you who have overcome their food challenges and successfully made these changes. So it's okay for this to be hard. That doesn't mean anything's wrong. I know that I can fall into the mindset that something's not going to work just because it's hard, and almost feeling like a victim to the circumstances. I have talked about in other videos this importance of understanding which circumstances are more challenging for you than others, almost like coming up with a game plan. Sometimes, like a couple of my clients who work in education, it has to do with this work deadline. Okay, it's the last 10 weeks of school after spring break. There's the state testing and field day and all these events that people are having at the end of the school year. That time frame can be particularly challenging for them when it comes to their eating stuff. So maybe it's a deadline that can make things more challenging or more of a struggle for you. For others, it's being around certain people, family members or coworkers that can get us worked up. It can be helpful to identify who and what makes things more challenging so we can come up with some kind of plan to help ourselves out instead of just letting it happen. Even in those situations, maybe you have thought, well, once I get started, it just feels impossible to stop. But at some point, you do stop, whether you run out of food or you feel uncomfortable or sick. Sometimes I point this out to my clients, this extreme scenario, okay? So in these moments when it feels truly impossible to stop, if someone had a gun to your head, could you stop yourself from binging or overeating? Could you stop and put the food down? Of course you could. So we know it's not impossible. Let's now shift gears a little bit and talk about responsibility. That's the second element of getting back into the driver's seat of your eating choices. Now, if you've come from a long history of being given meal plans, dieting, or even working with a coach or program, maybe they told you what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, and so on. Whoever designs that meal plan has a lot of responsibility, right? And then it's just the client's responsibility to follow on the plan or not. Now you're in the driver's seat for your food choices. So this might feel a bit weird if you're used to being in the mindset of just tell me what to do and I'll do it for a long time. Remember that the urge to binge or emotionally eat is just a sensation, and you still get to decide what you're going to do with that urge. I'm not going to show up at your house and be like, hi, hello, I sensed you were about to binge or overeat like some Jedi mind trick, right? So this is a good practice for you to remind yourself that you're in the driver's seat. People join programs like Breaking Up with Binge Eating, or they hire a coach because you want to make a change, and just by watching this video, that shows that you care. It can also be helpful to remind yourself that you have probably had many impulses in your life that you haven't followed up with before. Maybe your boss has been a condescending jerk and you wanted to slap him across the face, but you resisted that urge. Maybe you haven't been in the practice of using this impulse control over time, but it's a sport you know how to play. You just need to talk about how to play on this field when it comes to food, right? People who struggle with compulsive eating or binge eating challenges have the same reasoning ability and decision-making power as everyone else. So that tells us we really are in control. Part of getting back in the driver's seat looks like, where are we going, and making a game plan when those strong negative emotions surface. And when we experience that negative urgency, because it can be more difficult to shift our attention or think flexibly in the heat of the moment if we don't have any kind of plan. One of the techniques that is helpful is coming up with a list of activities that you can do for about 20 minutes. When the urge arises, set a timer and choose something from that list to delay and distract yourself with that. And then decide if you're going to eat the food. If you try an activity and it doesn't work, that's okay. Sometimes we have to try a few on for size before we find one that works. Some days going for a walk might help. Other days that might not be feasible, but I could take a shower or put on a favorite playlist of mine. In the words of Daniel Tiger, keep trying and you'll get better. You can just try something different next time. There's lots and lots of meals where you'll have an opportunity to practice this. I believe that mindset can be really helpful. You're not fated to be somebody who struggles with food challenges for the rest of your life. This is definitely something you can overcome. As you practice this, be kind to yourself. Maybe you start off by setting a 2-minute timer instead of a 20-minute timer. Start where you are. Well, I hope that you have found this helpful, and if you do, please feel free to share and subscribe for more videos just like this one. Thank you so much for just taking the time to watch, and I will see you next time.